Today, January 3rd, 2021, makes 20 years since I retired from the post office. I started in November 1969. I got into the post office because my wife wanted to get a part-time job while she was still getting her teaching credential. So I dropped her off. She went and got an application. She came in the car and said, you know, you should go get an application too. At the time I was working at a Continental Can Company in Terminal Island, and I thought, I'll give it a shot. So we both ended up taking a test. I got hired as a clerk. She got hired as a carrier a few months later. I started off in Long Beach. After the first year, what I would do the first year was just casing mail. What we do is get a letter and you had to know what carrier got it, and you had this big pigeonhole, and that's what you did all day long, was sorted out the letters, make sure they got to the right carrier. I really didn't care for doing that, so when a bid came up at the Postal Annex, I took it. That was over on the other side of the tracks in Long Beach. It was working with all the parcel posts, and I liked moving around, handling the heavier packages. It was a small crew there. We all got along together. I liked that. Then after a year doing that, a job came up for a window pull clerk. A window pull clerk was one that we had 15 different post offices in Long Beach, and they had were the finance part of the post office, where you went in and mailed your packages, bought your stamps, got your money orders. I really liked doing the window job. I liked working with customers. I kind of learned how to read them, what they wanted. Like if they wanted a mail a letter, was really want to mail it register or mail it certified. Want to know what the difference was. And I felt I explained that, saved them some money when they didn't have to have it as high a security as a register letter. So I just really learned my job quite well. And I became really good at it. So good that they started having me, instead of just relieving the window clerks, I start relieving the window supervisors at each station when they took off vacation or there was a vacancy. And I got so good at that, I was the one to train window supervisors when that position came open. Sometimes at some small offices like Sunset Beach, Surfside, I was actually the postmaster, because Surfside, it was only one person post office. I was the clerk, I was the postmaster, I was the janitor, and when that person went on vacation, I would relieve them. So technically I was the postmaster there, and also at Sunset Beach I did that a couple of times, relieving the postmaster there. I worked in Long Beach for 15 years, and then I transferred to Seal Beach. Then I got into doing Amway. I liked the idea of being independent, and I was trying to do my best to see how can I get out of working for the post office and just be my own boss. So I took a job I switched to a job that was only one day a week for the post office in Sunset Beach. At the same time, I took a job doing youth ministry work at a church I was going to. So I had that, I had the post office, and I was trying to build up my Amway business. And I really didn't do good at the Amway business as far as building that up. I saw that I better stick in the post office. So when a new position came open in Seal Beach as a full-time, I took that. So I was back into working full-time again. And then we moved out here in Corona, and I was able to transfer out to Corona. Now in Long Beach, besides doing the window job and doing the window supervisor job, I also was selected to represent the post office as a philately clerk. And there was a stamp show that went on 3 times a year on the Queen Mary. They had stamps and coin show, and the post office had a special booth, and we did special cancellations, and I was one of the 2 clerks that they picked to do that. And I really got to know a lot about philatelic sales and what people wanted, and staving stamps, what to look for. I became really good at that. Besides that, I would do what they call Benjamin Stamp Club. And I worked with this guy who was the main worker. I would help him out every now and then. We go into schools and we started up a Benjamin Franklin Stamp Club. And so I really enjoy going to schools and working with the kids and getting stamp clubs started. One of the other things, I was good at visualizing how to make things work better. Every year, the post office would have what they call a stamps and story collection. All the commemorative stamps that came out, they had it in a little booklet, and you would get all the commemorative stamps that came out, usually about 13 stamps every year. And they had it in these little booklets, and we had them for sale. And so I had the idea of, people would probably buy these if they got to see what was actually inside. So I took a poster and I stuck the stamps on there and made a display each year. The offices I did that at, they sold out of those like crazy. So the main retail boss came to me and put me in a special room and had me just make posters for all 15 post offices of all the different years of the stamps and stories. And they couldn't keep those things in track. We sold more in our Long Beach district and all across the country, and they wanted to know why. And so my idea became the standard they made in all the other post offices. I got a little monetary reward, a couple $100, but compared to the millions of dollars that I generated, But management really liked me. They liked my creativity. Another item was post office boxes. You go into any retail, the post office or a stamp store, you'll see that they have boxes on the wall displaying the different boxes they have. Well, prior to that, they used to just have assigned boxes and they had the measurements. And so we didn't sell too many boxes, and I had the idea, well, if they saw the size of the boxes, they might be more wanting to buy it. So we had 3 different sizes. So I made the boxes, had the prices on them, and stacked them and hung them on the wall. We couldn't keep those in stock. And soon they had me make that for every office in Long Beach. And again, the revenue just went up. And then nationwide, it was adapted nationwide. So there was 2 things, my ideas that went nationwide and made a lot of money for the post office. So then we moved to Corona, I transferred over. When you move to a new office, you lose all your seniority in that. You keep your seniority as far as the time you're in the post office. So now it's been 15 years of post office I had. So I had that as my pay grade, but in the office itself, I was a low man on the totem pole. When a job came up, you were the bottom person, and when vacations came up, I was the bottom person. So I wasn't the same guy, all the privileges and all how I got along with management like I did in Long Beach and Corona. And they kind of, treated me not too fairly because I had all this knowledge and they didn't like that. But anyway, a new postmaster came along a few years later that finally saw the talent that I had. I took the job of the vending machines that we had in our office. We had 3 vending machines. And at the time I took it, the revenue that we generated each month, there was 30 post offices in our district, in the Santa Ana district. Golden Arrow was one of them, Norco, Anaheim, other offices. And so the revenue, when the postmasters went to their meetings once a month, they look down that and they see where their office stood. Our office was 27 out of the 30. So when I took it over, my postmaster said, take as much time as you want, do your thing, because I displayed the stamps differently than they were displayed. I took the commemoratives, I made it, in the little space I had, I made them catch the people's eye when they came in. Oh, that's the stamp I want. I went from 27th in our 30 post office district to being number 1. I went from that in California, I became number 2 of all the post offices in California, Los Angeles, San Diego, San Francisco. I was number 2. In the entire United States, I was number 15th in the entire country out of all the post offices, New York, Chicago, Miami, all those big stations. I was number 15th in revenue. I was taking over $1 million of revenue off the machine every year. So all of a sudden they started sending people from the district and I know why I was doing so well compared to all these other post offices, and I was competing with all the big post offices for our small little town here in Corona. And so they started adapting what I was doing, and again, I created millions of dollars of revenue for the post office. Again, I got some awards, stuff like that, a couple $100 here or there as a bonus, but you know, it'd been nice to get a percentage of those millions of dollars I saved. Another thing, our post office, we built a new one in Corona, and when they built it, they were just going to make it a carrier station only, no retail business at all. And I argued with them that, you know, the city was growing so fast that you're going to have to put one in eventually. You need to do it now. They wouldn't listen to me, and eventually I was able to convince our mayor, who I was talking to with one day, about, she says, it's a shame there's no retail business there. And prior to a few years before that, we had the 84 Olympics. That's when we moved to Corona. And I told her that during the 84 LA Olympics, they had ticket retail of trailers at all the sites, the vending sites, that the archery, the running, the basketball, all the different locations. They had a trailer there that they made for the Olympics. So I said, you know, they're just sitting in a storage area now, and we could get one of those trailers here and have retail business just like that. Well, she contacted our local congressman, Ken Calvert, who contacted the regional postmaster, and in 3 days we had one of those units at our facility. So again, I brought retail business here. Also, and eventually they added on to the building and made a retail. So if they listened to me, they would have saved a lot of money at the beginning, but you know, that's how it goes. Another thing, when they did that building, where they had all the carriers, the mail came, the way the mail came, it came to all those carrier units, and then there was carriers at the old station too. And so then the mail was sorted at the new and then brought down to the old post office. And the people at the old post office had to wait an extra hour to get their mail. So they were always an hour in overtime. So I kept suggesting that when the mail came to the new office, they take all the mail that's for the old office and have the distribution clerks sort it there instead of sorting here, and they wouldn't have this hour delay. Well, they wouldn't listen to me until one day a regional postmaster came through, and he was, you know, all this overtime was costing the post office a lot of money. I said, oh, I know how to fix that right away. And I told him my suggestion, and immediately he said, that's brilliant. And he had they had them switch right away. So over the years, I created all this extra revenue, millions of dollars, and then millions of dollars I saved in overtime expenses and stuff because of my suggestions. That's my post office career. I enjoyed it. 31 years I worked. I got 2 years of my military added onto that, and then I had a year's worth of sick leave that I didn't use that they added that year. So I had actually 34 years of time for my post office. So today makes 20 years since that day I retired from the post office. So that's my story. I enjoyed my 31 years. I liked working with the public. I especially got that enjoyment when I was able to generate all this extra revenue for the post office. I enjoyed doing the stamp shows, working with people. And my last year I worked with the will call window, where people would come in to pick up packages or they had complaints about service. And I really enjoyed handling the complaints because mostly when people come in, they feel like, you know, no one listens to them. Well, I made sure I listened. I tried to solve it right there. If not, I got back to them how we could handle the problem, and I got just a lot of compliments because they didn't expect someone to call them back and tell them the situation is fixed. So that's my post office career. I enjoyed it, but I have enjoyed these last 20 years of retirement a lot more. Signing off from Corona, California.